You're listening to Idea Charger Radio. Hey there, Success Chargers. It's Scott. I hope you're having a fantastic day out there today. Listen, this one's going to be short, power-packed, and awesome. You can probably hear it in my voice, though, right? I have the dreaded convention voice. That's right. And the scary thing is, it happened on Thursday night, and that was before the conference actually even started. But it was really amazing. I had the chance, in the last 10 days, I think I've been to working with a client up in St. Louis, Missouri, where we got to work with the HR team that's about to deploy some amazing new partnerships and how we can make those stronger. And then I flew back home, saw my family for about 24 hours, and then headed over to Austin, Texas, where I got a chance to get together for the winter conference of the National Speakers Association. And actually went early, and we'll talk about why here in just a minute. And was there for a day early, and then stuck around for what was a really, really great opportunity to get together with some like-minded people that would challenge me, make me better. And I walked out of there with a lot of great ideas and a scratchy voice, which is going to make it tough this week because as you listen to this on Tuesday, I'm already going to be in the room in Wichita, Kansas with another client where we're going to be teaching some great leaders some amazing skills on how to be better connectors and build their business. But I wanted to sort of revive an article I wrote a little while back. I'm reposting it as the show notes for this week's episode. So you'll find that at ideacharger.com/episode 29. That's episode 29 after the slash. And you'll find the full article there. It might not be, I don't think I'm going to include the whole thing on iTunes. So you'll just see an abbreviated version there, and I'll kick everybody over to the website. So come see us, ideacharger.com/episode 29. But I want to talk about, connection. I mean, that's what we talk about here. It's what I talk about when I'm at conferences and working with groups. We always bring the conversation around to connection. And I found this article that I had written a while back that I thought was just really appropriate on the heels of a convention where I really put all of this into work and wanted to just share a few ideas with you about connection. So let's just jump right into it. In the article, I hit 5 things. I'm going to hit those real quick, and then I'm going to share with you a few bonus items that are not in the article just for you for listening to the show, because I really appreciate you that much. So here we go. Step 1, if you really want to be a great connector, it cannot be about you. In other words, I had the opportunity once I was going through a period of my life where I just needed some validation, I guess. And I found out there was a job that was being offered, and I sort of did the math on it and figured out that it was really a job I didn't want, but it was a job I thought I could get. So what I did was actually went to this office in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I lived at the time, and got there, and there were a lobby full of people, like 3, 4, 5 people deep in every direction you could look. So a room full of people and a constant flow of them moving in and out of this particular office. And what I thought was interesting about that was people would come in, they'd fill out all this paperwork, and then one by one they'd be taken to the back, and then one by one, just a few minutes later, almost all of them would immediately be headed back out to the door. But as I looked around, I realized I was the only one there that was in a suit. And so I got there a little early, filled out the paperwork, and already the receptionist was treating me a little bit different. Nobody else was wearing a suit, which I thought was kind of weird for an interview. But then sure enough, I got pulled to the back, and then within a couple of minutes, I got sent back out to the front like everybody else. But my instructions were different. They were to stay. Well, the long and short of it's this. I did get offered a job that day, and I immediately turned down the gentleman who offered it to me. And then I had to sit in his office for nearly an hour to listen to him telling me how awesome he was. And I realized that if I had presumed just for a minute that he was half as successful as he told me he was, then I knew that my opportunity to work with him would never be about my development. It would always be about him. I didn't want the job. And rather than trying to tell me how, build a connection with me and maybe make me feel good about the skills I brought to the table, all he could see is how our being in the same room together would benefit him. Make it about the other person, and there'll be a lot more value to your connection. Number 2, your connections really should be authentic. And I will tell you, I read a lot of articles and books about business and success, and always researching more and more about what we can talk about with clients. But from time to time, I like to read a good novel. And I had somehow recently connected with a friend, or not that long past, connected with a friend that I found out was writing a novel. And I got real excited. I was like, hey, you're writing a novel. I didn't know you were even an author. And he said, well, sure, let me email you a draft of kind of where it's going. So I downloaded it. I read it. And I was like, I love this. And he said, oh, actually, let me send you the first 2 chapters of the book, which he did. And then immediately after that, I got really excited. He goes, don't worry. In about another month, the whole book's going to release on Amazon. What did I do? I went and downloaded the whole stinking book, and I paid for it, and it was awesome. It was so great. So what did I do? I went to Amazon. I wrote a review for his book and started posting everywhere that I could about how great it was and how much I enjoyed it, because it was absolutely in the style of the kind of books I was reading. And when I knew of friends and family members that also liked other authors that were similar to his style, I turned them onto the book. Even my mom ordered a copy of the book. And it was really, really cool. And it was so easy. It was so authentic. It was really just a piece of cake to do a little bit of networking. And he never asked me for a referral, but I was already sending them out. So it's all because it was just authentic, and I just really wanted to go share. And I just thought that was cool. He shared a couple chapters with me, let me feel like I was behind the scenes, and I turned it into leads that actually made him money. Step 3 would be to focus on giving. I've got a really good friend of mine who used to use this phrase. He'd say, don't just be a face on a roster. And that was pretty good advice. And what he meant by that was, don't just show up to be part of something if you're not going to be part of it. Just to be in the photo, just to be a name on the list. And I'll tell you what's really cool. He has lived by that motto for a number of years, as long as I can remember. And just a year ago, as I recorded this podcast, maybe right at a year ago, he made the decision to open a car repair franchise business. And what's so cool was when he started posting up what was happening. As he got ready to open that franchise, many, 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 many people that he had selflessly helped over the years through another effort that he was giving away his talent and his knowledge and sharing wisdom with other people that were in a time of job transition. Many of those people showed up and beat the door down to be some of his very first customers. So just give and be you, and people will come back to you when the time is right. And it's amazing how that really happens. Idea number 4 says if you don't connect the first time, you should try again. And in the article, I share a couple of stories, but they kind of boil down to this. I had a $400,000 piece of business one time that I lost. I didn't really lose it. I guess it was a prospect I didn't close. And I was a financial advisor at the time, and there was a gentleman that needed to do something, and he stopped in my office and said, hey, I might need this money back in a few months, but what do you think I should do as an investment? And at the time, I was a broker that was based in a bank, and I missed the chance for that $400,000 because he decided to instead just put it in a certificate of deposit at the bank. The bank had a kind of above the market rate offering on a short-term CD for about 7 months. So I lost the business to the company that I worked for, to another department. And that was okay. It was okay because of how it worked out. You see, when he made the decision that day that I was going to lose, that he was choosing the bank over me, what did I do? I knew that in 7 months he had to make a decision. Would he roll that over for another 7 months? Or would he maybe take that money and invest it somewhere else? So I put a reminder on my calendar and I called him back on the day he had to make a decision. He said, Scott, I'm glad you called. Are you in the building? I said, yeah. He said, come up and see me. So I went up to his office. We talked for a few minutes. We came back down to the bank and he moved that $400,000 plus the interest he'd earned over to me to put in a longer term investment, having decided they needed to park that money a little longer than they thought. And in the process of doing that, he pulled his checkbook out and wrote a second check for $400,000 to add to it. And within another 90 to 120 days, I had a total of $3.5 million of his family's money invested across this entire relationship. How did I do it? By just following up. Sometimes an opportunity lost today, a no, really just means not right now. So stay connected with the people that you've lost the chance to win their business, because that door could open up in the future. And at that time, he was my largest client once he became that $3.5 million client. And I was really, really excited about that. Finally, the last part is about always maintaining your integrity. I can point to a couple of times in my career. One led to a time where a gentleman invested a sum of money with me over several weeks in an investment that I literally jumped up and down on my desk and told him not to do. I made him sign a letter every time we made a purchase of this particular stock. Every time. And I kept it in his folder and it said, Scott is advising me not to buy this stock, but I want to do it anyway. And he would do it. He would sign it and he would chuckle and he'd write me a check and we'd invest the money. And then several months later, sure enough, that stock had done nothing but go down. Down. Ultimately, the company, I don't remember if they filed bankruptcy or just blew away in the wind, but he came into my office one day and he sat down and he said, Scott, you were right. I was wrong. And I looked at him and said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, can you get me out of this investment? I said, it's going to take a while. He said, okay. He lost about 95% of the money that he had invested with me. It was several $1,000s. And he walked out of my office with a smile on his face, and I had my integrity. And it was okay, because he made a comment about the coffee mug that I was drinking out of the morning he came in to collect his check. And it was the last one I had. It had my company logo on the side of it. And I went back to the kitchen and I washed it in the sink and I filled it up with black coffee because I knew that's what he liked. And I came back and I set it on the desk in front of him and he goes, what's this? And I said, it's the most expensive coffee mug you've ever purchased. And he appreciated the gesture because he knew I wasn't making fun of him. He knew that I still had my integrity and that decision had all been his. And it was fine. It was absolutely fine. My single biggest transaction that I ever did that was a one-time sale had a 5-figure commission on it. And I told the customer not to do it. There's a lot of detail to this, and I'm pretty sure that there is an annuity wholesaler somewhere still talking about what a horrible investment this was, and he couldn't believe anybody ever closed this deal. And I closed it by having integrity and telling them not to do the deal. But similar to what we did before, when they made their decision against my advice, I outlined why I thought it was a bad investment for them, wrote it in a letter, got special permission by calling the investment company where we placed the money and getting the okay from my own compliance department to do the deal, because we said, well, if you're going to make a stupid decision, you might as well pay us to do it. And I treated them with respect. I involved many members of the family in this decision. And ultimately, we did what we did. I got the deal, but I didn't lose my integrity. And I really felt good about that because I knew that I would be able to sleep that night, even though it was a bad investment. There was another time I thought somebody was on board, and when the woman called me in tears the next day about the investment and said, I really don't understand what we just did, I said, hold on, I'll call you right back. And I got on the phone and I called the company that we were placing the money with there, and I said, send it back. They said, what? I said, she doesn't want to do the deal. I said, there's an opportunity to back out of this investment. We're going to take that deal. We're going to take the back out. They said, well, you're not going to get your commission. I said, I don't care. It's not the right thing for her. She called me crying. She's not going to be able to sleep. She doesn't understand or remember what we talked about yesterday. It doesn't understand it the way I thought she did when she left my office. And I had my integrity. Word gets out about things like that. And what happened? I started to grow my business. People started referring me business, and they said, this is the kind of person Scott is as an advisor. He tells people the truth. He has his integrity. And sometimes people make stupid decisions on their own, and he lets them know in a way that doesn't make them feel bad about it. And he's there to help them out when they want to go a different direction. So with that in mind, let me give you a couple of bonus items that I want to throw in, because that's what we talk about in the article. But this past weekend, there were several things that happened to me at the convention I went to as an attendee. I wasn't presenting this time like I usually do. This time I was actually in the audience, and it was really cool. One of the first things I did, and you can do the same thing so if you're headed to an industry event, try this. Identify a bunch of other people that you know who might be going, other people active in your industry that you share common interests with, but maybe they're from different areas of the country or people you just don't see that often, and agree to get together. I found out not only did I go to one of those meetings I walked in, there were 8 people there I didn't know before I walked in the room. Some of them I had only ever conversed with in an industry online community that is connected through Facebook. We knew we shared a common interest, a common subgroup within our association, and we always shared ideas. But I'd never been in the room with a lot of these folks, and we just showed up early, found a conference room in the area, and spent an entire day sharing ideas about how to build each other's business, and it was amazing. The other thing it did was it set it up so that when we got to the convention itself, I had a lot of people that we could compare notes. We could share ideas. If I wanted to go to 2 breakout sessions at the same time, I could find somebody who had been at that meeting on Thursday that was going to the Saturday session. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to one, you go to the other, we'll swap notes at the end. It was really, really cool. And it was very, very giving. Second of all, if you know some people that are really plugged in and well connected within your association, just hang out with them. I had the chance to do that Thursday night before the convention. I guess I did it every night now that I think about it. There was one night a gentleman that is a friend and a colleague. I'm also a customer of his. He arranged a dinner just to get people together. There was no pitch. None. But he prearranged a dinner at a really, really nice steakhouse in Austin. And we had about 21 people that just got together for dinner. That was it. Got together for dinner. But it was speakers, people that were new in the industry, people that had been around in the industry. There were some agents and representatives of other speakers in the room. We didn't really talk about business, which leads me to the third point. Just get to know people. When you go to these things, don't try to position and try to figure out, I wonder if I could sell what I do to somebody else that's here. That happens. Believe me. At a speakers conference or any conference you go to where people sell knowledge, there's always somebody in the crowd that wants to talk to you, and they feign wanting to be your friend just to figure out if they can sell you their 12-step program or their 5-step program or their $10,000 solution that will help make you $1 million speaker. And you talk to them, and none of them have ever made $1 million as a speaker. Okay? Stay away from those people. But, or whatever your industry is, right? If you're in the financial industry, right, there's always somebody that wants to try to sell you into some idea or something that they're trying to do. I think it's better just to go. I love the fact that at the end of the conference, I didn't find out till the last day what some of the people I was talking to even talked about. We just talked about the business, our business, my business, your business, what works, what doesn't. It wasn't until later we got into the details. It's now a couple of days later. What am I doing? I'm going through my notes, finding the names of all the people that I came in contact with and interacted with in the various sessions or sat next to at a dinner or all these different things. And I'm connecting with them on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Now I'm getting to know what their topic is. But I already know them as a person, which is so much more authentic and so much more valuable, right? We're already looking forward to the next conference that's coming up this summer. Many of them will be there. I'm hoping I'll have the chance to be there. If we're there, we'll certainly get together. But between now and then, We found ways to collaborate. We found ways that we can partner together, and we're just holding each other accountable and encouraging each other to try some new things in our business. And we genuinely have an interest for each other. And I hope you can find that in whatever business you're in, wherever you go, which will lead me to the last thing I'll share with you. Going back to my days as a financial advisor, there was always, and this happens for people in any industry that has continuing education requirements. There's always some compliance conference you have to go to at least once a year to get some ethics training or just some product knowledge or industry knowledge type certification, or maybe to keep a license, up to date. And in the case of a financial investment group, there's always something that's compliance related. And in the case of this particular broker dealer that I worked for at the time, they had you had to go to at least one of their quarterly meetings, and they would do each quarter a particular meeting in a different area of the country. And I found tremendous value in just doing this. I rarely went to the regional meeting for the region that I lived in. Instead, I would spend a little bit more money, and which meant a plane ticket, and I would go to another region. And here's why. Every time I went to that other region, I was no longer a competitor, because sometimes at your local region, you would find people that maybe worked for the same broker dealer in your same town or in a very close by geographic area. And they weren't always as open or comfortable sharing their competitive insights, what was working for them. But in the case of going to something like the National Speakers Convention I just came from, or by just going to a regional meeting that's in another region of the country that you don't work in, I know many people that do that. My sister works in the HR benefits area. She loves going to other regions to conferences so that she can find out what's going on from people that aren't people she runs into all the time. And she said, I always get a lot better information, and I want you to do the same. So there's this episode has been jam-packed with some ideas for you about how you can network your way to profits without losing your integrity. And I hope you see that it really is easy to be you. Focus on giving, helping other people, make connections, become a connector. That's somebody that's, you don't have to be the guy or the gal, but be the guy or the gal that knows the guy or the gal that they ought to be talking to. Be a resource for people, not just people that could be your customers, but people that could be the customers of the people that you know. That's the foundation of networking, and that comes back to you many, many times over. I'm going to leave it right there, folks, for this week. It's been episode 29. Hope you really enjoyed this one, and we'll see you again next week, Success Chargers. By the way, if you love this episode, just share it with somebody, and I hope if nothing else, send them a link to the article so they get something out of it. Right? Stop by ideacharger.com/episode 29. Send us your comments, your thoughts. Leave them on the website in the comments section below the article, or send us an email at podcast@ideacharger.com. We'd love to hear you. Let me know what's going on, and let me know who you want to hear from. Talk to you soon, Success Chargers. We'll see you next week.
If you enjoyed what you just heard, please post your 5-star review and subscribe to Success Charger today. Your future is waiting.